Okay, so for this lesson, I will be showing you how to use your TI-84 graphing calculator to find the zeros and points of intersection where two graphs intersects. And first, for the zeros, there are two methods of finding this, and we're going to use the function x cubed minus 4x squared minus 11x plus 30. So what I did is I typed in the function into the graph and press graph. Okay, and so we want to start off by finding the first zero. So let's try and find this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to second trace and then 0. So the graph asked for the left bound section of the 0 that we're trying to find. So what we want to do is get to the left side of our first 0, which happens to be the negative side. So we want to move our cursor over to the negative side. So you can see the cursor's right down there. Then we're going to press enter. Then it's going to ask for the right bound side, so we want to get it to the positive side of our 0 because that is on the right of it. So our cursor is over here, press enter. Then it's going to ask guess. You want to press enter again. Then your graph shows you that our first 0 is x equals -3. So we're going to do this again for the middle 0 that we're trying to find. So what we're going to do is second trace, go to the 0 function. It is asking for the left bound side of our next target 0. So we want to move our cursor to the left bound side. And the left bound side for this one, as you can see, is the positive side of the graph. So we're going to press enter, and then the right bound side would be the negative part since it's on the right of the target x. Press enter again, and then guess, enter. Our next 0 is x equals 2. Okay, so now we're going to use the guess and check method on this calculator, and we would be using the t-table to find this. So let's estimate what our last x is. Since this is 2, we can count 3, 4, 5. So let's estimate that our next 0 is x equals 5. So first what we want to do is we want to make sure our t-table is set to the ask function for the independent variable. Once we make sure of that, we can go to second table to see the table. So our estimate was x equals 5. So we're going to put 5 in the x part, enter, and we can see that y is indeed 0. So our prediction was correct. So these are the 3 zeros of our polynomial function. Okay, and now for finding the points of intersection. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same function that we used in the first section. And then the second graph, we're going to use the absolute value function, let's say x minus 3. Okay, so on our calculator, I already have the first graph typed in. Now we're going to type in our absolute value function. So we're going to go to math, number, absolute value, and x minus 3. Okay, and then we're going to graph those two. Okay, so our calculator shows that there are multiple points of intersection. And to find these exact points, what we're going to do is we're going to go to second, calculate, and then scroll down to intersect. So the first thing that the calculator does is it asks for our first curve. So what we want to do is we want to move the cursor to our first curve, which is our first graph. So this function, we're trying to get the cursor to only touch f of x. So there. So now the cursor is only touching f of x, we can press enter. And it is asking for the second curve now. So we want to make sure the cursor is only over our absolute value function. Okay, press enter. And for this guess question, we have to make sure that our cursor is closest to the point of intersection that we want to find. If we pressed enter at guess over here, it would find us this point of intersection. So what we're going to do is move the cursor close to our target point of intersection. That should be good enough. We press enter, and now it shows us that our intersection point is at about -2.8 and 5.8. So this would be our first point of intersection. Okay, and now for extra practice, let's do the second one. So what we're going to do is go to second, trace, intersect, and it asks again for the first curve. So we can use the same point that we used the first time, enter, and the second curve, we can make sure it's over the absolute value function again. And for the guess portion, remember we have to move the cursor closest to our target intersection point, which I would say that is fairly close enough. We press enter, and so our second intersection point is at about 1.9 and 1.1. So using the intersection functions on this calculator, you can find the points of intersection for however many graphs as you wish, and you can find the zeros with multiple methods using your TI-84. Thank you for listening.